Referendum issue is a
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
My name is Keith Anthony Blanchard. My spiritual name is Yanava. Yaha Naha Baha. It's your spiritual name. You may have a different spiritual name, the vibration of being in the vessel. But ultimately, as we move inward, upward, which is forward toward the greatest possibility, it's really not a linear motion from where we are to where we think we're going. Because even though the journey does imply we're going forward, ultimately it's going to take us right back to here, right back where you are. And where you are essentially is seated in the soul. The soul name is Yaha Naha Vaha. Yah Nava is just a shortened aspect of that. Yah, God. It's the most popular, most profound name in the universe. Yah, John, or any form of the word Ah. Jesus Sananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, Yanava, Buddha, Krishna. Ah. Someone tells you a joke. You might have to tell it to you 2 or 3 times, but when you get it, you say, Ah. Right? And in that Ah is enlightenment, because Ah, I get it. Ah. So Yah itself would be the heart, the fire, the passion, the muscle, the might, God itself. Everything you want, we think we want, it can be found here. In the nothing. And in that nothing is everything. Isn't that something? So this would represent the fire of God. Yah. How you like that for synchronicity and alignment? Na is the mind. Hopefully it's one of clarity. The mind moves this way. Digging that. Va, so let me go back to Na. Na would be the mind, hopefully one of clarity. Right choice, discernment, reason, clarity. Va is the backbone. That what keeps us erect, upright, the ability to stand, just the ability to stand. In times of trouble, someone who might be in a wheelchair, who has an upright Va, is standing, and they're standing very strongly, right? So it's not about the mitsu, it's about who you are as a divine child, about who you are as a divine being. Regardless if the mind is clear or not. Let's say the mind is not clear. The same amount of firepower God will is going to push through the unclear mind. You will become no more powerful when you're enlightened than when you aren't. There's no difference. The same fire pushes through the clouded filter as it will through the mind of clarity. It's just that when we're clear, and it becomes clear, everything we want simply begins to reveal itself, because it's not something you're actually bringing to you. It seems that way because we walk forward. Some people walk backwards. Or they try their darndest to do that. So, as the fire always pushes, our task should be to become absolutely clear. Around this idea is not a whole bunch of spiritual work. People think spiritual work is, I'm going to meditate and sweat buckshot to make this thing happen. You have already overshot your target. You're going to miss it every time. Your intention will be recognized, and you may step a little bit. But Spirit will only answer your call. And if your call is effort, even I'm really trying to be this spiritual person, Spirit will always give you effort. I'm trying to be this spiritual person. It's all nonsense. The tables have turned. So Va is being able to carry out the process. Will, fire, God, desire, clarity, to be able to know when to step in or step out of the game. No shame or blame, but taking that responsibility. And Va is going to naturally follow the will, the direction, and the action. Ya, na, va. I have learned over many, many years of sweating, meditating, efforting, doing all these things that are very, very, they were a lot of fun. But we're given a go sign, if you will. We have a desktop shortcut icon on our PC, and it's right there. So you click it. You can go to any cosmic web page that you choose. Any reality, another planet, another dimension. This is all out of disposal because the window of 2020 is open. And regardless if this is clear or not, Spirit always says, you can have it, you can have it, you can have it, you can have it, you can have it. Yes, you can have it, whatever you want. You want more difficulty? Yes, you can have it. It's always been played out this way. Now the window is open. There is no more veil. It's getting ever thin. In fact, the next layer out of the veil being so thin is no veil at all. And to no avail, you can have it all that you want, provided you are clear. Because when you are not clear, you will still get all that you want, all that you are asking for. Ya, na, va. It's the name of your soul. It is the primordial sacred seed syllables of your cosmic divine self. Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, spawned by this book that went bestseller August 1st, is not just a book, it's an experience. And the experience, however long it takes, the journey of 1,000 years starts with the first step. Until then, nothing happens. When you take the first step, you have shaved 500 years of your journey off. Well, so that means if I take the second step, I'm complete. The 500-year mark is to say that I've taken the initiative. Without taking that first step, nothing happens. So, okay, take the first step. Good. You set an intention for yourself, a baseline for yourself. This is where you don't want to go into effort. The universal design is so simplistic. All it takes is simple observation. Observation, just to recognize it. I know how noisy the world can be. It's strong. It will. Remember how many of you went swimming as a kid in an above ground swimming pool, and everybody wants to make a whirlpool, right? And you're not sure if you want to participate because you're not really on the outside wall yet, but you feel the current, it's tugging you. But if you go stand in the center, you're not affected. The storm can bitch all it wants, and if you are centered in the Va, standing erect, everybody's turmoil is going to spin all around you. Now, this is where you should be careful, even with your loved ones in this time of trouble, because you're in the center. Someone you care about who's in the current saying, help me, and they reach out their hand. And you grab their hand, you become engaged in the situation as well as everyone else in the turbulent event horizon. So what are you saying? Should I just not care about my loved ones? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you have to always be in a situation of being planted, or you will become one reaching to someone else, hoping to get you out of the mess that you've mired yourself in. The political arena, the COVID agenda, whatever that is. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, erroneous. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a lot of nonsense in it. Whatever that nonsense is, I don't claim to know it. I know there's nonsense involved. So in 2020, with this window being open, you can have what you want. But it will bring up in you everything you've been stuffing down. Well, Keith, I'm pretty solid. Fantastic. Tell me how you did it and what you got that I want. I'm solid. Good. Be grounded. Because even in your solidity, the things that you stuffed down since you were 16, and don't remember that you stuffed down. Because if you remembered, you would have done the work around it. They will start showing up. They'll start popping up. It'll at first arise within you as thought. You remember this time? Yeah, I'm pretty much over that. It may just be fleeting. And if it continues to get ignored, you'll start to show up as feeling. It'll start showing up more often, then you start being emotionally affected by it. Continuing to ignore it, it will become physically manifested. Now, this sounds like this will happen over a period of a year. The window's open. This will start showing up just like this, and things will become. You have no choice because someone's knocking at your door. You don't know who it is until you open the door. You open the door and it says hello. And then you will be confronted with something in your life, which I will help you with in a little bit using a breathing technique that will help you move through. Move through would be the correct way to describe it. Because you can't go around it, you can't go over it, and you can't shove it down. You have to go through it. The opportunity to free yourself is at hand. But to be in the joy, you're going to have to be afraid. What does that mean? The things you have been fearing in your life, the wall that's keeping you from your liberation. Here's my fear, and my liberation's here. You have to go through it. So here's my fear.
Your mind was.
It's not so bad. What's that?
Your mind was overworking.
Correct. The mind was overworking, Judy says. And when you realize, at first it's going to feel funky when you step. It's going to feel real sticky, dark, nasty, nerving. We've all been swerving, trying to curving all around it. But you have to ground it. You have to be grounded. And when you move through it, it's going to seem a little weird. After a little bit, it's going to be, this is not so bad. What have I been doing to myself all this time to keep myself in this self-induced prison, this self-delusion? We all do it. We all have been doing it. It's suggested that we do it no longer. The current is going to get stronger. You think today is crazy? Wait till next week.
I have a question.
Yes,
So
please.
the difference between reaching out and getting in the whirlpool of that energy, whether it's fear-based, three-dimensional, whatever, is different than facing your own fears. It's more of a shadow work, going inside.
Ask me that again, please.
Okay, you had discussed previously about the whirlpool and the reaching out to help and being careful not to get sucked in.
Right?
Then you talked about facing your fears, which I'm attributing to shadow work, going inside. It's different than the previous situation you discussed.
Helping someone or not helping someone is one of wisdom. To what degree can you help without becoming involved to where you become part of the unconsciousness and your desire and your love for someone, which is a gorgeous thing,
Right.
to help. But what good can we do if we're drowning as well? You can't save another drowning person if you're drowning.
Of course.
As far as shadow work, I understand the idea, I understand the term. It's not for me. I could call what I've done over the years shadow work. But in the titling and the labeling of that is something very, very powerful.
Okay.
The shadow, the dark. Because ultimately it's all light. Some of it is just waiting to recognize that. Some of the lessons are waiting to be recognized. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, thanks, because it's connotation on the word shadow work, but we're saying the same thing.
Saying the same thing.
Yes, I got it, and I appreciate you clarifying it, because it's just a sliver, but that sliver can make all the difference.
It's
in the world.
monumental.
Yes, I see it now.
And you say, well, it's just words. Okay, well, words are vibration.
Yeah.
Power of the spoken word. But not only that, if you can get beyond the words, you still have in that idea, it's laced with intention. It's laced with unconscious intention because you say, well, it's just a word. Well, how clear are you that you're just hanging out with your friend who is truly illumined and you're truly illumined? You say, I got to do some shadow work today. And you both go, I get it. But some people really cling to that pseudo-spirituality. 144,000, the ascension, What's the other one? The other famous one? 5D. And I'm a star seed. I get all that. How much time? How can you understand that you're a star seed? I'm not saying you're not. You may have had glimpses over your life, but how can you truly integrate your star seedness if you're still lost in the human conundrum? You can't. People don't understand God because they don't understand themselves. How can we understand the majesty if we don't understand the finite, puny little self? There's no difference. We have to go through what we know or believe, think we are to get to that which is beyond everything. When we begin to take on these modalities of being is when we begin to cross the bridge to the soul. Even looking at this book cover, this perfectly describes my life years ago. Human dynamic. Living in fear. You might get a little light, it gets a little gray, and your boyfriend or girlfriend breaks up with you, and this thing, and we never get past this area here. You start doing the spiritual non-work, leaving things alone. Literally, leaving them alone. We start to move on this crickety-rickety bridge. It's a rope bridge. The rope bridge can support you, or the rope will hang you. When you first get on the bridge of your spiritual walk, it's a rope bridge, and it's very long, so it's got some swaying to it. The closer you get to the center of the bridge, where it's balanced, the swaying begins to stop. Likewise, you will find yourself, when you get to the center point, you know exactly how the bridge responds to you as you move. So now you don't even need your hands to hold on. You're so good at how it moves, you can get your groove on while you're doing the whole thing, you know what I'm saying? And so then you begin to be this person here, then you move into the light, because ultimately, when you get into the lighter areas of reality, all the illusion of everything that is bad, it all gets forgotten. You remember it, but the level of its importance to you simply just dissipates. You see it now as the most amazing, beautiful catalyst that could have ever happened to you. Nor would you ever want to change it if you could. Because it's those particular dynamics that has brought you across the center point of the bridge to your soul. Anyone have any questions? Everyone good?
All that is good goes away too.
Correct. Very good. All the good goes away. Key, don't we want good over bad? Well, yeah, until you get to the point beyond what we are calling good and bad. Because your good may be good for you. We thought that person we dated or that job we had, man, this is good. I got this job or I got this lover in my life. Come to find out, it wasn't. Future hindsight, it actually was. It was way beyond the good because it was a catalyst or a bridge that brought you to this new reality. Because what truly is good lies beyond the world of good and bad. This is bad, this is good. Of course, that's interchangeable depending on who you are. Most people live their life in this dual split. I definitely don't want that one. I want this one. Fantastic. It means you're expanding into your spiritual possibility, which you know that you want for yourself. But there's something else. You mean there's more I can choose from? It's infinite. Your choice is not only infinite under the guise of what you call good and bad. When you choose between good and bad, you only have two choices. You only have one choice. The choice is this one or that one. And you're still living in duality. That is not what wholeness is. Wholeness is the reality of you coming home to yourself to realize, who is this being that has a choice? That's called the Trinity. The self. When the self becomes enlightened, the Trinity, the Holy Spirit, begins to arise in one person. And then you realize, I don't have a choice. I am the being that has infinite choices. You can go snow skiing. You can go jump out of an airplane. You can come to Florida. You can go eat some food at a Mexican restaurant. Whatever it is you want to do. And it's infinite. Now, a lot of the trouble begins to happen when people start feeling bad about their choices. Good is a phenomenal barometer to keep you on the path of enlightenment. But it also can be a trap if you think you found the ultimate good in your life. Because the real you, the deciding factor, the deciding person, or being rather, is infinite potential always. How many here are still holding on to certain life situations, boyfriends, jobs? Anything you'd like to share?
Oh, no, you just, general question.
Oh, share, What do you mean by holding on? Can you define holding on? What does that mean? What does that mean,
Holding on?
Yeah.
I can give you a wonderful
Is it
analogy.
something that you should not hold on to? Is that what you're implying? It's something that's in the, I'm choosing my words carefully, that you should let go?
Lisa asked the question, can I define holding on?
Yes.
And how does one begin to let go of even their own model or my model of letting go? What does that look like? Here's this cool little thing. It's pretty. It's red. You like red?
Right.
Here's red. And it's about this long. And I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
And it's electrical wire. Okay. The current has been flipped. And you're holding it.
Okay.
And as long as you're holding on to this electrical current, because whatever you have in your life that is not serving you, it's causing you pain. No, it's not causing you pain. It causes you pain initially. And as long as you hold on to it, after you get the shock of your life, it's called self-induced suffering. Because you don't want to let go. And as long as you hold on to that electrical charge, that thing that has you charged electrically, emotionally in your life, you will get electrocuted. It will shock you, and it will keep you grounded in the situation. When you let go, hurting completely stops. It can be tough to let go because the person who's holding on to this idea thinks it's what will save them from themselves. I'm holding on to this person because I don't have the joy in me, and they have to be the one to bring me that joy. That is called self-induced suffering. Job. I lost my job. I'm grateful that I had that job. It brought me to this spot. It changes it all. This is not just spiritual cliche nonsense. It might be the same words that I'm calling spiritual cliche nonsense, but it's the attitude, like we talked about, and what we were saying, the difference between shadow work. It's really refining your process in such a way that you're not only taking steps, you are taking steps, leaps and bounds, because I'm done with this. Done. And anything that I don't know of in my unconscious bank, my unconscious file, I'm ready for those to be revealed to me. Because it could be a collection of those little things that are keeping you truly from the next step. You might be wanting a step, but something's not allowing you. It could be the fear. It could be situations that are just not manifesting to where you can move through an open door. So holding on is probably one of the greatest spiritual lessons one could ever master, in the letting go of. Your ideas of what you think is going to take to give you bliss will never give you bliss. It may give you glimpses of your greatest potential, but it will never take you there. What will take you there, which is actually here, is letting go of your preconceived notions. Well, Keith, isn't Jesus? Well, of course Jesus is. But how do you think he achieved that level of being? By acting and thinking the way you did? Who's God in control here? Am I going to follow the teacher, follow the leader, follow the master, and be as the Christ, as a Christian, if that's your way? Or as the Buddha, if that's your way? Or as the Hindi, or as Krishna, if Hindi is your way? Whatever your way is, there's only one path. There's many paths to the path, but there's only one path. Because once you get to the cave of Samadhi, cave, dark, lit by fire, only enough to where I can see. That sounds like each one of us is living in a cave, because we are. Samadhi is the intention of unifying with God. I have every intention of unifying with God. Monks in the Himalayas, and likewise, they literally go into a cave. They play it out. They play the game out from beginning to end. They go into a cave, in the dark cave, to illuminate themselves so they can see. Unity with God is Samadhi. And what these monks are doing in these caves, they're forgiving themselves, how they've wronged themselves. They're forgiving themselves for what they did to other people. They're forgiving the people who did certain things to them. They're forgiving the people who did certain things to other people and other people and other people and other people. Because they understand that every aspect of these beings that they're in forgiveness mode is themselves. This brings them to greater capacity of enlightenment. So those things that we are choosing and then feel bad and or good about can be considered blocks. We don't know anything except I know that I want greater degrees of bliss. It's really the basic question a spiritual aspirant can ask themselves. It's great to read a phenomenal book. I got a few. It's great to hear wonderful pieces of music. I have lots of those too. I write music as well. I'm playing bands and all that stuff. I love all that. It's expressions of me having fun. And I do this with other people. I love reading good books. I love good music. It's all playing the human game because being human in and of itself is divine. But no spiritual teacher can teach you anything. They can help you, nudge you, unlock doors for you. But they can't tell you ultimately what you know, because eventually you will get to a place in your life. You will always probably listen to music. That's the universal language. But you may not always want to read books. You might want to read a book just because you want to relax on a hammock on a nice breezy day. Just read a cool book. Just to kind of escape and let go and get some fresh input. We think enlightenment is a future event. We think heaven on earth is a future event. No, it's not. It's here. It's you. It's your incarnation. You are the it. There is nothing else. If you're looking anywhere else toward anything, you have missed the point, and you will never get back on track till you fall back into center with yourself. What I don't like what I see. Exactly. That's why people of the light who love you enough to say, you may not like me during the situation. A few years down the road, you'll love me because I love you already, to impart to you this power, this knowledge of hanging around certain beings. For example, I'll talk about these books shortly, that I have and still do in my life. When I say beings, I'm speaking of spiritual, self-realized, God-realized men. I'm not talking about someone who's just really cool and pretty enlightened. I'm talking about the absolution on the earth. Yes?
Well, when most people speak of love, they're speaking of love, conditional love. And the love that you're speaking of is unconditional because it's
Totally.
all the time.
Totally. I have nothing to change. Because it's really about acceptance, allowance, and appreciation. We heard of AA for rehabilitation. Well, this is AAA, Trinity Rehabilitation, AAA. Acceptance, allowance, appreciation. Acceptance, allowance, appreciation. I accept you exactly as you are. I have no reason to change it. I allow you, I accept you, I allow you. And in fact, I go even beyond that. This is the rehabilitation. I appreciate you in all your folly. Because if I don't appreciate you, even in your folly, it becomes my folly. I have left the center of the swimming pool and grabbed someone from the current, now become part of the noise. And I'm twirling and whirling about in this sea of unconsciousness. That's what happens in a whirlpool. It all goes downward. And life spirals downward.
That may be something to help with the shadow too, because all of the shadow is in time, and there's no time.
Yeah, there is no time. So if we take the time to get out of time and into no time, that can be a riddle in and of itself. But I think you understand. Taking your time, because you're not in a hurry. Humanity is in such a move, they want to move fast, 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 fast. It's noise, because they're trying to escape. And I've realized why people drive like absolute maniacs at 8:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and the same at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Because they're doing something they don't love, which we're going to talk about. They hate it. They hate their miserable existence. They're not living, they're existing. But I got to pay the bills. So they sleep in as late as possible, only to get on the expressway and drive like a fool to someplace they hate. Boy, as soon as 5 o'clock and they punch that clock, they sit back this way because they don't like their life. How many here are doing what you love? What? Fantastic. I'm going to talk about that here shortly. I want to lay out for you 4 powerful tenets, modes, principles, truths. And these 4 are only one. They're fragments of the one. Father, one. There's nothing else. Father, Mother, God. Only one. Son, duality. There's something else other than the one. 3 would be the Trinity, the AAA rehabilitation that rectifies. 4 would be the introduction of power. So we have 1, 2, 3. Now we brought the Father or God back into the situation, and it expands. It begins to swell. Number 1 is passion. You can see it in me. I'm a personification of passion. Everything I do, there is no way it will not happen. That's done. I'm done with, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to be Mr. or Mrs. Spiritual. I'm done with that nonsense. It is me. And I've learned that passion is that Yah. It's that fire. Passion is the aggressive. I'm a mechanic. I'm going to get into this car and I'm going to fix this engine. I got oil under my fingernails to prove it. I roll up my sleeves and it's going to happen. I'm going to fix it. That is passion. That's the fire. That is the active. Number 2 is sincerity. Passion is sincerity is I'm serious about this. It means something beautiful to me. It's like being cradled by your divine mother in a bosom, suckling on the divine teat for the milk support. I'm serious about this. I mean it. So you have the fire, which is passion, the backbone, whatever it takes to make it happen. Sincerity would be, I mean it, which provides the clarity and the way to do that. I'm laying dynamite in your hands. Sincerity would be the passive, the soft spot, your divine mother, the birth of a brand new sister. It's pink kind of idea. Soft, fuzzy, warm, nurturing, supporting. Your grandmother, when you were a kid. You remember your grandmother? You remember her smell? That kind of energy. Humility is being of service. One of the greatest ways you can raise your vibration to be a part of the new world, suddenly through the silence, because all this noise, suddenly through the silence, the new world will appear. One of the ways you can raise your vibration to guarantee a part of that new world, it's not like there's going to be an old world and everybody who doesn't do what I'm trying to do is going to be lost and me and this flock. There are many dimensions and realities playing itself out. But if you want to be a part of the new world, meaning a world, at least for you, that is one of absolute ongoing bliss and joy where everyone is getting along and everyone is shared and shared equally, is being of service. Being of service to everyone you can, not as much as you can, but all the time. All the time. Open the door for people. You might have, yes, you got something to prove. You're trying to prove it to yourself. Look people in their eyes and say, good morning, ma'am. How are you? Can I open the door for you? Whatever they say to you is not your business. Your business is to be an anchor of service. Humility. Buddhist monks live their whole life like this. Whole life. Because they understand they're connected. In so doing, they're connected. They're connected consciously. And in so being of service, they are being serviced themselves. Passion, sincerity, humility. And lastly, equally as powerful and as important, scary as shit. Peeling that open and making yourself vulnerable. Taking your clothes off, literally or figuratively. Because it's actually all literal. Ask yourself, well, of course I'm not going to just go in the room and just strip my clothes off. But I do recognize in not doing that, somehow, somewhere inside of me, I do have an issue with that. Well, Keith, it's because it's respect. Well, I get all that. Point is, analogously, it does lay itself out. There is a part of us that is afraid to be seen. All the work you've done Passion, sincerity, humility is for naught if you don't open the gate for that light to come out. Okay, so I'm passionate. I'm trying to create something. I'm trying to do this thing that brings me joy. And I mean it. I'm so sincere about it. I just want this because it's me. And I'm humbled to be of service and all these things that creates a bridge to that thing I'm wanting. But if you don't ever open up the spigot, the water is not going to flow. You have to let this light of yours shine. This little light of yours, you have to open it up. You have to be seen. Many people are scared to be seen. I see it in people's eyes, people's faces, how they dress, what they say, what they don't say, more importantly, what they don't say. There is another language happening beyond what's being spoken. And if you learn to hear this language of light, there is more information being passed than what's being said. And then you will see people's level of vulnerability or not. So, if we look at the analogy, let's use these 4 models as the life of Christ. What is heaven on earth? People think it's a future event. It's not. It's the manifestation of your divine self in every moment. So we look at the life of Christ, and then we see him in this image. Right? What is the first one of the 4 that we just talked about? Passion. What is the crucifixion, the death of one's old self to become resurrected? What is that called? The passion of the Christ. This is coming through me at this moment. I have no idea where this is going. It's called the passion of the Christ. So likewise, we have to become passionate. He was sincere about it. I'm going to do this. I'm serious. I mean it. I'm going to do this. That'd be his sincerity. His humility to be of service to all of humanity, past, present, future. Bowing down. You lift, ironically, when you bow. The lower you are, the higher you are. That would be humility. Vulnerability. He made himself naked, literally, metaphorically as well. He made himself vulnerable by exposing his core, his light. That would be vulnerability. Heaven comes down, earth goes across, heaven on earth. So he was nailed to this cross, upon this cross, by these 2 planes of experience, these 2 planes of existence. And he exposes himself. But notice where these 2 planes on this crucifix intersect. Well, that moved through me. Still
And he
is.
said both of them will pass away.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Which brings us ultimately back to wholeness. Beyond the duality. The left, right, in, out, hot, cold, good, bad. So I'm going to move into what this book is. This book was birthed for those, the divine principle anchoring heaven on earth.